Hello, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir, and a very good afternoon from our time zone. We are very happy and privileged to have a person of your caliber here with us today. Hope everything is fine with you, sir.
Yes, everything's okay.
Great to know,
Can
sir.
you
Sir, yes, sir.
can you see me? Uh, can you see me?
Yes, sir, I can see you.
Okay.
Sir, as you are a very famous chemical in process engineer, and your channel Jefferson Costa in process serves as an inspiration to many aspiring chemical engineers like us. We would love to know more about your journey. So, if you can kindly share something about your journey and your channel in process.
Okay. I was thinking about talking about my joys and how that's why today I'm here with you because if I didn't had done these joys, I would not be so. I'm not say famous, but no. We are ready to start. When we are ready to start, just let me know, okay?
So this live, it is actually live, and we have started already.
Okay. Hi, hi everyone. I'm back, and it's my pleasure to be part of this event. I was very surprised, but it was a good surprise to be invited to this entrepreneurship event, and it was very hard to me at the beginning choose something to talk to you, but maybe I will help some people if I talk why I'm here today. And this happened around 3 years ago because I was an ordinary engineer working in a big company, in an international company, but I was around 5 years with my salary frozen, and in fact, I was not the best, but for sure, I was very committed with everything related to my work. So I worked with plant design, commissioning, and startup of plants. And when I went to the plant to doing a startup, it is a different job than in the office, and I get very committed. I slept in the work more than one time, and I know that I was good enough to be a good engineer, but in that time, I didn't do anything to improve myself. And what I say about improving myself, the first one is that I was not uh, I was not investing in my inner knowledge, and knowing myself better. Instead, during the university, I was involved with meditation for many years. When I started working and when I got a family, I stopped that from my life. And the second thing was that I finished my graduation and I did some specialization course, but after that I didn't get books to uh, improve myself objectively by my joys. I was learning more and more every day in the work because I was doing a job in the work. And with that situation, I started getting not satisfied with my work and in some scale with my life. So I decided that I would change that when in a little sometime before I was fired from this company. And in that time, I was sad, but I was not so sad because I was not satisfied. So I decided that I will would I would starting building or investing in myself because up to that after that point I would be recognized internationally by my skill, and I decided that I would have thousands of students under my supervision. And with that, I uh, I I start uh, studying about personal development. So I read a lot. I saw a lot of videos, and names like Tony Robbins and Bobby Proctor is common in my bookshelf, and I read their book more than once. And that is the first step that you should do if you want to reach anything in your life. Do a decision and uh, know yourself, your inner self, better and better before you proceed. Sugata, I don't know if you want me to talk uh, correctly, goes on, or if you want to do questions, please guide me because I'm not
Sir,
a professional speaker. Okay, so help me with this
sir, like
presentation.
as we are from entrepreneurial background, so what is the definition of
Today, I would
startup?
the definition of a startup for me is getting a plant to start running. It's not a startup of building a new business. Okay, so what I do is designing a chemical plant, and I do the commissioning of a chemical plant that is test some things before we start production, and startup in this process is getting the plant to run. And so for instance, if I have a polypropylene plant, I do the design, I go to the field and test the equipment and the instrumentation. And before going to production, we need to start up the plant. That means that we need to add the raw material, we need to set the utilities and etc. That it is a startup for me. But what I can bring to the entrepreneurs here is that when I start this mentality of being recognized internationally and have thousands of students under my supervision, I did a plan how to reach that. And that is about mentality, and there is no entrepreneurship if you don't have a strong mentality and objective of your life. Sorry, I'm not listening to your audio.
Hello.
Now it's okay.
So, am I okay? So, like as we know, the starting up in other domains is quite easy, and often it requires a lesser amount of money. But if you want to start a chemical engineering plant or something of that sort, it will require a whole lot of capital. So, how can we just? So what are the domains in which we can start up as per chemical engineering is concerned? Or
That's a hard question because I don't know how to advise any student that wants to start a chemical plant, because, as you said, it expends a lot of money. But you can start small, because I know people that starting doing chemicals for laundering, and that it's not big as oil and gas company. But if you want to work in this way, it is possible. It's a matter of learning and get involved. It is important when you do your choice is get involved with people that already live uh, how you wish to reach. So if you want to start up a plant, a chemical plant, be connected or connected with people that already did that. And I don't know many because it never was my objective, but you can find in your country, and now with the internet, you can find anyone in the world that has done something similar.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, I have one more question. Since now we are mostly changing towards green energy or renewable sources of energy, what do you think will be the future of the petrochemical industries we have?
And as the time goes on, I think that the chemical and petrochemical industry, oil and gas, also will be most important, because although we can change the source of energy, like green energy, we still need hydrocarbons to do materials like computers, notebooks, smartphone, and even clothes are made with petrochemicals. So we need oil. And although we may change the matrix from renewables, we in one time we need to choose if we use renewables for food, or if we will use renewables for our necessities, and not essential necessity. So it is not thing that I believe that you or your grandchildren will worry about for some time. The microphone is off.
Sir, sorry, sir. So,
Okay.
I have another question. As now it's the time of artificial intelligence. So, what is the scope of chemical engineering in this, like automation?
The interface of the chemical engineer in plant design and the automation is defining the, the, the philosophy or the way that the things should do. Okay, all my message is addressed to chemical process engineer working with plant design. I don't have expertise to talk about operations or develop research and development. So what I can say about the AI is that in Brazil it's not so implemented yet, but probably in some years it will increase. And the chemical engineer has the path here, understands how the process should work, and to have the AI to a plant, the chemical process engineer must be consulted to 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 give guidance how things should work.
Sir, is there? Hello, sir. Am
Yes,
I?
I mean,
So, what are the core chemical subjects that one should know in order to prosper as a chemical engineer?
the important subject is thermodynamics and unit operations if
Okay,
you
sir.
want to work with plant design. However, you will not find everything that you need at the university, because in the job market there are many specific characteristics that you should know, or skills that you should know. So if you want to work with your operations, you need to have a set of skills based on improvement of production. So it is different that if you want to work with plant design, that you should have more knowledge related to project management. And in the other hand, if you want to work with process safety, it has another set of skills that you should have, like HAZOP, HAZID, and quantitative risk analysis. So in some level, they interface each other, but if you want to be good in one path, you will not get, you will not give so much attention to the others, because the chemical engineering areas of expertise are too big, and as a chemical process engineer, you can, in fact, as a chemical engineer, you can work with sales, with buying. I know and I have friends from my university that are human resource manager. So the area is too big, but you need to choose which area you want to focus on. And in that way, you need to connect to people, you need to improve yourself, not only in itself, but also technically. And I think that the most important is that the engineers in general do not invest in the external skills that I like to name that, but the soft skills is very important to any technician, because uh, if you don't build a good relationship, and if you don't let the world know that you are good, you will not be bought by the companies that you want to work on. Microphone.
Sir, another question. So, what inspired you to start Jefferson Costa in process?
Sorry.
So, what inspired you to start the Telegram channel Jefferson Costa in process?
Okay, this is this is part of my plan to conquer the world, because when I decided that I would have thousands of students at my under my supervision, I needed to join them in one place to get easier to me to communicate with them. So I started in the LinkedIn because it is the biggest social media for work purpose, but from that set of people, I need to filter some of them that is really interested to learn what I have to teach. So in my Telegram group, it is called In Process. I give regularly tips, and I share the my day by as chemical process engineer. And for those that get that wants get deeper with my knowledge, I have a training program. So time to time I release that. But my even for those that is not part of my training program, they can learn a lot from me for free in my Telegram group, in my Telegram channel, and also in my YouTube channel.
So, when you were of our age, so had you thought about all these things like you would do, or it's only after college that you decided to pursue in this side?
Sugata, my English is not very good. Please go slower with me, okay?
Okay, sorry. So, like I was telling, as when you are of our age, like in college, so had you already decided that you would be doing something like this, or was it only after that you decided that you should help other students like us?
I decided when I did the choice that I would be intentionally recognized. So it was around 18 months ago, 3 to 8 months ago. So, and when you build a company, it's not a company right now, but when you try to do an entrepreneurship, you need to think about a system, not only about one specific action. So what I do today, I have my LinkedIn that is my basis for technical sharing, and I link my Telegram, my LinkedIn with my posts that I have in my YouTube, and in the other hand, in my YouTube, I mentioned that I have a web page, and I have the Telegram, and also Facebook and Instagram. And when you go to any of these places, it creates a cycle. So I try to improve or to increase my audience doing a cycle in order that they get more involved with my content, and that they get more involved with me, and we build a relationship in order that they can trust me to teach them to be a better chemical process engineer in the area of plant design, because I'm not the best person to teach them to work with operations of or work with R&D. So the entrepreneur should choose which area of expertise he wants to work on, and in the best word, he or she should choose also the kind of person that they would like to help, because if I decided to help persons that are more experienced than me, it would be harder for me to find the path to do that, because I need to share with them something that is interesting to them, not interesting to me. So that's why it's easier to me help students. In fact, my main target is the fresh graduated, because they learn a lot of things in the university, but they don't learn enough to start working with plant design. So I'm here to fill this gap between the university and the job market. That's why it is my purpose of building a legacy. And this way, I believe that my name will not fade away so easily after I left this earth.
Yes, sir, your channel is truly an inspiration, and most of the chemical engineering students learn a lot from it. So, we have some other questions from the audience. So, I'll be putting those one by one. So,
Okay, no problem.
okay. So, the first question is, how much time should we wait in a professional job as a chemical engineer before we can expect a handsome salary?
The first thing that you must have is experience. So if you are getting a job thinking about increase of salary, that's I think that is not the best way to do that. But at least my tip is, and I say that during the my seminar, you need to know what the companies want. So if you see in many chemical process engineering or open position that the chemical engineer should have at least four years as experience or 3 years as experience. So you should work hard to build that time of experience before thinking about pushing your employer to get more salary, because there are a lot of people wanting your position. And in my particular way, when I starting as chemical process engineer, I would have worked for free for at least 1 year, because I know in that time that after 1 year of experience, I would have the chance to choose another work if needed. So, uh, besides or instead of, in my point of view, okay, I'm not the ruler of the answers. In my point of view, if you are not satisfied with your salary, improve yourself and look for other company, and you need to have the preset for that, instead of pushing your employee to a better salary and get insatisfied while you don't have that.
Sir, can you share some of your experiences in the industries, like which would serve as a motivation to all of us?
Um, my
Like some any
something
interesting
that
incidents or
I think that the most that impacted me most was that you start as a technician, as a process engineer. You start with technician, but as you get senior to your position, people, and when I say people, it's not only your boss, but also your comrades in your job expected from you to be a leader. So there was a plant startup that was uh, my mission was to do the leadership of a startup, and that way I was under my supervision, not administrative supervision, but for that work I was involved with a plant startup, a CO2 plant in Peru. So I had the Peruvian team under my supervision, and I had American from our headquarters in that time under my supervision, and I had also my people from Europe under my supervision. And in that way, it was as I was able to lead them to start the plant during the schedule and at the cost, and that was was a warn for me because I didn't use it to leadership too many people, and in that time was around more than 15 people at the site, and that is why I think that is very important to know how to communicate in English, and everything that see my videos or watch my videos know that my English is not perfect, but it is the necessary or have the minimum for building a communication. So if you don't increase it, your English yet, do that because it is the task of the chemical process engineer to communicate with everyone around the world, because when you start a plant, part of the plant can come from South America, part of the plant will be built by Indians, and eventually part of the plant will come from Europe. So when I went to China and I expended three months there, I had meeting with Indians, Chinese, with South Korean, and all the time we spoke in English.
Sir, as a graduate chemical engineer, you would want us to join as in operations or in design industries? Like, which would be better?
They are their own challenges. When you usually, as I know, the people that works with design, the salary is higher because the risk of losing their jobs is higher also. In the operations, you have a more stable job, let's say like that, more stability. In other hand, because of that, you gain lower, and that's this way because the you if you have a plant and you need to cut costs, the first cost that you cut will be in the investments, and the chemical process engineer that works with plant design build on investments, and if there is no investment, there is no job, so you need to find some other place to work on. And the operation, the main objective of working in operations in the chemical process engineer in operations is to reduce cost. So if you are facing crisis, you will increase the necessity to reduce costs. So eventually, it will take more time, or it will be harder to fire you than the chemical process engineer that only works with plant design. And when the company starts to increase their capacity and is decided to invest in the revamp of the plant, they need to hire chemical process engineer to do that. And if you are working as operation, you will not left your position to work with plant design if you gain the same salary. So that's why we have this kind of gap between the plant design jobs and the operation jobs. So I'm what is better and what is not, depending on the choice of anyone. My career was built uh, above or uses as basis the plan design. So I'm very happy with that, and I recommend you if you like. It's a good path to choose.
So we have another question from one of our viewer. It is this: what are the some of the interdisciplinary domains in chemical engineering that has future prospects in consumer technology and have potential startup capabilities?
Um, we during plan design, I must know some knowledge about electrical, mechanical, and eventually about automation. And it depends on the size of the company that you are working on. If you are working in a big company, the tasks are more specified. So the chemical engineer only do chemical engineering, and if you need anything related to instrumentation, that part of the work will be passed on to the instrumentation engineer. However, as you get or as you go to smaller companies, you need to save money, and because of that, the chemical engineer should not only know about chemical process engineering, but also instrumentation, automation, eventually a little bit about electrical, and etc. So, in my point of view, besides starting your career in big companies, it is better in a technical point of view to start in small companies. Why? Because you will be challenged to solve a lot of things, and at the same time, I start my career in a small company, and when I finish the startup of the plant, I was invited to, I was a third party. I was in a EPC for a polypropylene revamp plant. And when I finished the revamp, the engineering manager invited me to join the design department, but it was very small. We didn't have disciplines specifically how I had in Praxair. Praxair, I worked with 15 chemical engineers, and in the Braskem, I was the only one chemical engineer in plant design. And in the EPC, I was the only one chemical engineer in the company. So I learned about how to draw drawings with AutoCAD. I learned how to do the dispersion analysis and etc. And that was things that in my time as praxis I didn't do to do that, because once I finish my draft in my PNID draft, I could send that to the designer, and he would draw that for me. So my tip is, don't look for salary, look for experience. And if you gain experience in smaller companies, you will have much more added to your career than starting in big companies.
So what was your biggest challenge that you faced as a chemical engineer and how did you overcome it?
The biggest challenge was to lead people in the Peru startup, because I'm talking about here with you, but in fact I'm very shy. I don't talk too much with people, although I do good relationship with them. And when you are working in the field, it's very important that you let the information clear for everyone. So in that time, I did the uh, daily meetings to share what we should do that day and etc. So my biggest challenge was that, and also and now as a mentor, my biggest challenge is to have the answers that my students asks me for, because I don't know everything, and but I do my best to find a reasonable answer for them. Like today, I received a message asking me about the design of heaters. And in fact, I don't know too much about design of heaters, but as this request, I will do some research, and eventually soon I will be able to share something related to that subject. And that helps me to increase more and more my technical